welcome into the Sun Belt Syndicate, the OG edition, as myself, Dominick Crosetto, and co-host Mr. TJ Courman bring you all the action from the first kick to the last pitch. Before we get going too far, definitely check out Don't Sleep Energy. I forgot to mention this, but I split a can when we were in Charlotte, TJ, with the guys I ended up in the hotel room with beforehand, and it works. I was up till like 2 a.m. I was also writing the recap article for sunbeltsyndicate.com. But it definitely worked. It was easy to stay up. So if you are looking for a new energy drink to try out, you want something with a cool name, be sure to check them out. Also, Phenom Elite, all at your local Dick's Sporting Goods. So not only a place you have to go online to find this stuff and not sure if it fits right or something, you can now go try this stuff on. See if it fits, what you like. Maybe they don't have the colorway or the design you like. Then you can order that portion online. But Dick's Sporting Goods is stocking Phenom Elite. I think they just came out with like a Batman cleat or gloves or something like that. So,
and they got Batman and Joker, I thought.
Yes, Batman, Joker, SpongeBob. I think they just came out with Patrick Star gloves. If you're a fan of the pink stuff, or you got a high school team that's got pink in it or something. So they cover all the varieties that you could run across from. And one cool thing about them, if you just
I was gonna say, I wonder what kind of clearance they have to get to use these characters.
Yeah, you would think that's some steps to get to that point, right?
Yeah, I would think so.
Yeah. Well, whatever it is, it's smart because this is what the kids seemingly want. I mean, there's a lot of the guys that are on their roster, if you will, of like NIL kind of kids. Most of them are kind of coming from the high school level, right? Before they get big, before they get known to the masses at the college level. So they're going after it all the way around in a smart way. So if you've followed Phenom Elite on any of their socials and you see some kids' names, probably keep checking in on that because there's a reason those kids are on their roster. So hopefully TJ will have one on there sometime.
We are counting on it. We are well, I don't want to say counting on it. We're hoping for it. How about that? Because
there you go.
I got one loading. He's pretty darn good.
There you go. Yeah, he's looking at from afar. I haven't got to see him do anything in person just yet, but the video clips are impressive, folks. So he's not lying.
I need to start sharing some to the website, just so some guys can get a kick of just to check it out. Because I know it's obviously as a father, right? Like, and most of you people that are, I won't say most of you, but some of you that are watching are dads, and you hype your son up because you have to. When I tell you he's actually good at football, and not just football, baseball. He hit an inside the park home run the other night. And I was just like, the way how fast he was moving around the bases, I was like, what's going on? I mean, and then on top of all of that, he's got like an 18-foot jump shot. Who would have thought? And he's 8 years old. I mean, he's phenomenal.
One of the most impressive things you shared was just the other day. You said he was going up an age group because the other team didn't show up for the game or something, and then went up and out-jumped kids older and bigger than him to grab the ball. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, the kid was playing wide receiver. Brody was playing corner on the left side. It was basically your basic jump ball. Kid was about 4.5 inches taller than Brody. He was 12. Brody's 8. He went up with 2 hands, snagged it, didn't let the ball come down, high pointed it, caught it at his highest point and brought it down, and would have scored the other way had the guy not pulled his flag. He's different.
Nice.
He's different.
That's awesome. Speaking of different, here's Artie Cat. Hey, Dominick and TJ, what's up, man?
What's up, bro?
Appreciate you always tuning in, Artie. And we know we always get necessarily, I should say it's between him and James about who's going to comment first most nights. But those two are always here, always accountable, and we always it. We've had a number of new comments this year too. So we appreciate everybody who's checking us out and ready to get into the football swing of things, because we are definitely as well. So let's take a look at our week 6 preview. And of course, we had to shout out Mr. Lunch Winfield on the opening graphic. And if you saw our players of the week, Lunch was obviously our offensive player of the week. No real surprise, right? Offensive player of the week for the Sun Belt Conference overall. I think he won a national award. he was definitely going to be ours as well. Whenever you can account for about 5 total touchdowns, I think is what he had.
I'd say that's enough.
Yeah, just enough. He just made it, right? Like it was close, but we did have some other really good performances. So he definitely deserved it, though.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, Ben James jumping in and saying what's up, and don't even get me started with A-State, but he's going to the game Saturday. We're gonna have somebody there live doing some coverage from the press box. Mr. Sam Stubbs, if those of you and TJ probably remembers, we had him on the show last year when he was there for College Football Dogs, and this time he's going to be there as a Sunbelt Syndicate member. So that's pretty cool.
Nice. That's awesome.
Very few credentialed members of the media under the Sunbelt Syndicate umbrella, but we are vastly growing in that direction this season. So it's pretty exciting to have somebody up in the booth. Speaking of what's to come, let's go through the playbook for tonight. As always, we've got the segments for you looking good. Come on, bro. We've got the weekly awards, as I just mentioned before. Games of the week. You better win. I don't think we actually have anything in rounding it out. I think both of them fit in either games of the week or you better win category this week. So that's kind of interesting. It's maybe what happens when you only have 6 games in a weekend. We got our new edition, Best Bets. And TJ and I put a little bit more work into that this week. So we're going to have some better thoughts and a little bit better graphic for you to view when we get to that point. And of course, we are going to have TJ's clip breakdown. Already throwing out a little congratulations. Appreciate it, Artie. Ben saying he hopes A-State is in the better win category. So we'll have to see if they fall into that. But TJ, one of the best parts of what we do is to have a former player who played at a high level break down some of the action from last week for us. So we're going to have you do that for us here in just a second. And
I don't know about a high level, but I played at a level, somebody's level. I don't know how high it was.
You played at the Division I level of college football, my friend, and that is as high as it gets.
That's fair.
So it's legitimate. It's real. It happened. All right. So first of all, before we get this clip going too far, it comes from the North Texas versus South Alabama game. We only had 2 nationally televised type of games last week, and that's where we get these clips from because ESPN Plus doesn't allow us to kind of maneuver through the clips as easily as YouTube TV does. No free ads, YouTube. But I just want to give a quick pause to this. Look at this. This is an undefeated team in North Texas.
I know what you're getting at, and I was thinking the same thing when you sent it to me, but I'll let you take it because I was going to comment the same thing.
Well, no, I want to hear your thoughts too, but I will just say this is shocking. This is the halfway through the third quarter. It didn't seem like a really hot day. Obviously, it's very sunny, so you don't really have any sun coverage, but your team is undefeated, and I don't know how many people expected it. So talk to me, TJ. How tough is it to play in front of nobody?
Oh my God, it's the worst thing ever. I can tell you, it was Elon and Western Carolina were the worst 2 games when we had to go on a road that I ever played. It was so quiet. You could hear a baby crying, literally a baby. Like we went to Elon one time and we literally heard a baby crying on their side of the stands. It was insane. Like I've never heard that before in my life. It is so difficult, not because you do need the crowd, right? You want the crowd to be in it. It's electric. It's live. I mean, it's one of those things. You don't want to be able to hear yourself, talk sometimes. But then the other part to it is like, guys, we're 4-0. What else do we have to do to get you out there? I mean, look at that stadium. When you sent me this clip earlier today, I was like, holy hell. Like, what is happening? Like, what do you got to, buy tickets for some people to show up? I mean, it's just Texas football, number one. Number two, you got an undefeated football team who's up 21-0 in the third quarter. What else do you need? But I digress.
Yeah, it'd be one thing too, like if that lower bowl was pretty full and it was just that upper section, you're like, all right, so maybe they just have too big of a stadium for what they can grab or whatnot. But No, I mean, even that lower bowl is next. Now, the biggest portion is right there on the sideline, but really it looks that way because of the band being over there. If the band's not there, it looks even worse.
Yeah.
So
I mean, there's like a few spotted people in the second row on the game side, and they probably went up there only because it's a better view.
Right.
It's not because we had to
get away from everybody. Yeah. Oh man. Well, with that being said, yeah, it's a sad crowd for an undefeated team. I feel bad for. Well, I don't really feel that bad for North Texas. It's what it is. You're not in the Sun Belt. If it was a Sun Belt team, I'd be a little bit more offended that this is what the crowd looked like. But this is to say it's not always a Sun Belt problem. When people talk about attendance, they talk about people not coming to some of these Sun Belt teams. It's not an us problem. It's bigger than that.
No, we travel pretty well.
Yeah, for the most part, most of our teams are showing up pretty good. This specific play is from Bishop Davenport, quarterback, to tight end Gibbs, and it is his first collegiate touchdown. Again, we'll run through it one time in fast motion, and then we'll have TJ go through it after that. He's going to be over here on this side, come across.
Yeah, this is a cool play because, I mean, it's your typical get across the line of scrimmage, get under the line of scrimmage, get seen. First of all, I don't know how somebody that's that big is able to hide behind an offensive line, but that's neither here nor there. It was a really good play call in terms of the misdirection. And what you'll see, and what I saw via the camera when the camera flips, watch the linebacker to the side of the running back. He follows, right? He's supposed to pass that off and go take the tight end. Well, what happens is because the numbers are overloaded to the left side, that left side linebacker is now responsible for that tight end. But when that tight end goes away, that left side linebacker's responsibility goes away because they're playing man. So either 33 should follow him, or not 33, either I think it's 6. 6 should follow him, or 6 should pass him off to 7. That's how that should go. So this tight end right here, exactly what Dom just circled, the backside safety, I don't know if that's a safety or a linebacker that's over there right next to that end on the other side of the field, is responsible for the tight end. Right? Not him, the other guy to his right. Nope, other way.
Here. Oh, here.
So go one more over.
Oh, got
Yep.
it.
So he's responsible for the tight end to this side. So what ends up happening is when he comes across the formation now, he either has to do one or two things. He has to chase, or he has to communicate and pass that off. When he passes that off, because the middle linebacker is responsible for running back in man coverage, right? And then because there's a tight end on the backside as well, that backside linebacker is now responsible for that tight end to his side. So what's happening is either lack of communication, or the backside linebacker did not flow with the tight end, and it left him wide open. I mean, it's a great play call, but it's a play call that you run when you know you can beat a man coverage. Because right now everybody's stepping up, they're biting on the play action fake, and that's just being nosy. You know, I mean, 7 came down, and again, my guess that it would be passed off to 7. That would be my best guess, is because the way the coverage looked, he would pass that off to 7. But either way, responsibilities were not had, and it was a blown assignment, and it was a really good play call, but better execution, but even worse on Marshall's defense. And that's, in large part, North Texas defense, but that's in large part, one of the things that South Alabama does really well. They do a lot of misdirection really well, and they have a really good offensive line when they execute. Problem is they don't do it consistently enough.
Right. Yeah, and we're gonna actually stay in the same game here, because it was funny that as soon as I sent TJ this clip, he responded like so cool. Well, he didn't see it immediately. When he saw the clip, he responded immediately, because he said he saw the same thing I did live.
Saw it live,
yeah. We're gonna jump back into this same game, and this is the next series, the next play after what we saw transpire, and I went a little too far, so we'll jump back just a second. No commercials. We'll do our best to be like NFL Red Zone here, and try and keep the commercials away. This is the ensuing kickoff, TJ. So we'll see it again, full speed, and then we'll break it down a little bit slower. And there's the other side of that stadium, so not that much more impressive with the people you're seeing in the stands there.
Yeah, that's bogus, man. As big as that stadium is, that they should be ashamed of themselves. So this play was unfairly, in my opinion, called offsides. So clear recovery by South Alabama. And quite honestly, and I'm sure you agree, Dom, this could have been a turning point in this football game.
Absolutely.
It could have absolutely been a turning point in this football game. Momentum shift. They had just scored. Now you get the ball back. At worst, you go down and get 3. Now it's 21-17. You got yourself a different ball game. But they called they called offsides on the kicking team. If you can bring that back for me, Dom, because I was playing it in slow motion on my phone, because like you can kind of with your thumb bring it back and go forward and I did it like 15 times. And I was like, I don't understand what they're looking at. The guy that they called offsides, when his foot hit the line of scrimmage, or when he hit the line of kickoff, it was at the same time. The guy that they said is offsides right here, boom, R2. Watch when the kicker's ball hits.
Yep. This guy on this side, or was it that guy over there?
I thought it was R2, so 2 from the kicker on the right. From the 2 from the kicker,
okay.
Yeah, right here.
Gotcha, right here near the end. Gotcha. Okay. Right.
So watch when his foot hits the ground. Watch where the kicker's foot is. It's right on the ball.
Yep.
How's that offsides?
Right there.
How's that offsides?
Yep. And also, if you throw a flag on this, the kicker's foot is almost always in an offside position. So why does it matter if the guy's like foot is hitting the ground at the same spot the kicker's foot is? I just don't like. This is perfectly timed to me. That's what I thought. I was like, dude, he nailed it.
And to do one better, Dom, his foot's not even on the ground yet. Look at it. His foot's not on the ground. So when I slowed it down, his foot touched the ground, touched the white line, touched the 35-yard line as soon as the kicker's foot touched the ball. You can't time it any better than that.
Yeah, exactly. Now, also, watch this referee at the bottom. I can't really circle him, but he's just below here, right on the 35. So he's in good position. I'm not going to say he made it up because he's looking down the line, but I just don't agree with it. Watch how long it takes him to decide to pull this flag. Again, as the broadcaster says in this clip, I'm not sure he throws that flag if they kick this ball away. And I think that's exactly what he waited to see, right? Honestly, to me, it looked like he was probably not going to throw the flag if North Texas falls on that ball right at the 10 after the 10 yards.
Yeah, I agree.
It has to travel. But we'll see. Watch him at the bottom of the screen. We've shown you the players. Watch the referee and look at how long it takes him to decide to get that flag out of his pocket. And the computer's running slow, so we're getting it in slow motion here too anyway. Oh, I know why, because the broadcast is actually stopping it as well. But so you could still see there, the ball's now left, and they're just past that line, barely. Right.
And the ball's still way in front, way out in front.
See, look, now, as soon as he's looking to see what happens, he's got his hand on his waist, and he throws that flag very, very late. Remind me, TJ, can you advance? You can advance an onside kick. Had they not called offsides, this would have continued to be a legal play, correct?
Absolutely. In college football, you can advance an onside kick. Yep.
Now, I don't think he would have scored. I think that he was going to get tackled right there.
But regardless, if you get tackled, you're in field goal range at that point. So at worst case, you're getting 3 points out of it.
Exactly. And so, the reason I brought that up, the reason this play is a specific focus isn't to rail on the referees. It's a human thing. Stuff happens. Right, but what we wanted to focus on is, how important something like this is, because this totally changed the trajectory of this game. As TJ said, you're already in field goal range immediately. You just scored. You have momentum. You could have scored a touchdown. That would have tied the game. After this play, after this flag, not only does South Alabama have a player get hurt and actually have to go off the field, they come back, re-kick the ball. North Texas returns it to the 50-yard line, already in great field position, and then that drive ends up in another touchdown for North Texas. Now they're back up 2 scores, and you've wasted your kind of surprise onside kick. Like, you're not really going to catch them off guard the rest of the game now. So it was tough to see that in a game that looked like South Alabama was really in at that point, right?
Absolutely. It was 100% they were in it, and they had every chance at that point to win it. Like I said, best case scenario, they tie the game. Worst case is 17. You've got a whole quarter and a half after that to come back, and you got momentum on your side. Momentum, people sleep on it. Momentum is a big thing, and that's one of those things that when you get a penalty like that, or when something is a bogus call like that, it really affects the psyche of the game, right? And how the game is played. and it destroys morale entirely. So it's one of those things. It was unfortunate. I wish they hadn't called it. I saw it live, and I was like, there's no way. I mean, there's no way that kid was offside. And even if he was, let's just say hypothetically he was, it's so close that it should not have been called. Like, come on. What are we really – what did it say he's a foot? Give him a whole foot. Say he's a foot past the ball. What kind of advantage does that give him? How much of an advantage?
Right.
You know?
Right. That ball jumped into the air and went way high. It wasn't like it died right at the 10-yard mark after it went, and they were going to fall on it. And if his foot was 1 foot in front, that helped him gain the advantage. No, this thing went way high. Anyway, I agree with you. I think it was just an unnecessary call. And like I said, we'd have to go frame by frame, and you'd have to show me a directly line of sight from that referee for me to agree with him. But Artie per se and break out the tarps like rice as far as the North Texas attendance is concerned. So that's kind of a funny one there. We got a couple questions, so we'll get to these. Artie says, question for TJ: why do we rarely see the I formation in goal line circumstances?
I don't know, honestly, Artie. And the reason I don't know is because we've gotten so far away from power football now. Everybody gets on the goal line and they try to get cute. And it's the worst thing ever, in my opinion, because we've gotten away from just and it doesn't necessarily, you don't have to have a fullback on your roster. You got 4 tight ends. Most teams are carrying 3 or 4 tight ends. Have them do an outside kick out block or lead up on the linebacker. I mean, old school powerhouse football is almost out of the window now. And there's not a lot of people, even, you go to the pro level now, you see the Ravens with Derrick Henry, who's probably the biggest, not probably, he's absolutely the biggest running back in football. And they go shotgun. Half the time that and he gets the ball, they hand it off to him on going sideways. Well, wouldn't you want to get your running back going downhill? And so to answer your question, I don't know why. I don't know why it is. If it was me, I'd run I formation, goal line, halfback, power. And I run it until they stop it. I run it on 4th down and make me stop it. If I'm on a 2-yard line and my offensive line and a fullback can't get me 2 yards, I need a new offensive line. That's the way I look at it.
Hey,
and
stop talking about App State, all right?
I know, right?
Oh, man. It's a great question, and something TJ and I kind of talked about. I think it was the Instagram thing we were talking about, but Cam Scadaboo is one of your other guys running downhill. I mean, that guy does not care. He's like he's about as close to Mike Allstott as we got now, right?
He runs like he sniffs chalk, bro. Like he's out of control, man. He will put his head right in your chest and just keep running through you. He's insane.
Oh yeah. Battering ram is just insane. Artie's mentioned it was American officiating crew, and there maybe some home cooking, I used to do the profession, not for football. You hate to say those types of things, especially when you're like, well, at this point, he doesn't even know if it's going to matter like that. But it was big. It was really big. It was unfortunate that we had to do that. Ben, there's one question before we continue on with our next clip. TJ, how valuable is it for the players to study film?
Ask Jamarcus Russell. Yeah, ask him how valuable it is to study film. It's extremely valuable. It's more valuable, quite honestly, than the practices that you practice on Monday through Friday. It's so valuable that they make each individual position groups their own tapes. That's how valuable it is. You get it and now they got them on these iPads and all that stuff now. But when I was going to school, each individual group, we had our own DVD, right? And you watched your position. That's how important it is, because you got to learn, because film does a couple things. And I don't want to talk too long, because I know we've been doing this for a while, but it's important that people understand what film does. What film does is more than just X's and O's, right? What film teaches you is tendencies. So I know if I'm a defensive back, for say, if I know I'm going against their number 1 receiver, I'm picking up his tendencies as soon as it's funny. I harken back to something that Deion Sanders used to say about Jerry Rice. Jerry Rice used to give no tails, whether it was run play or pass play. But there's a lot of times these younger receivers, when they break the huddle, you can tell by the giddy up in their step how quickly they get to the line of scrimmage, what they're doing with their hands when they get to the line of scrimmage. Are they cleaning their hands? Are they licking and spitting their hands, right? Are they getting ready to catch the football? Or are they just kind of lazily walking up to the line of scrimmage and getting ready to maybe block you? you can tell certain tendencies. And if you see a guy do that over and over and over again, right, you can kind of get a mindset of, okay, every time there's a pass play, he licks his gloves and pulls on his towel, right? Or every time there's a run play, he fixes his shoulder pads because he knows he's got a block, right? It's those kinds of things. So it's not just the X's and O's portion of it. It's not just when they line up in, trips, they're running 1 or 3 plays. Of course, that's part of it, right? Because, you've got formational tells and those kinds of things. But those kinds of things can be switched. What film is mostly done for, from a defensive perspective, is what does the offense look like when they're doing the same thing again? And so film is invaluable. It's why the best players are the best players, because they don't skip film sessions.
Nice.
Sorry,
and shout out.
It's important.
No, I love that, because it is important that people understand that it's more than just the play itself. One of the best examples of that I've seen in the real world, which is funny because it's not real world, but your former teammate Coco Hillary was in that movie I think Disney made about Clemson, and the little kid picks out a tendency that of course escapes everyone else in the room, but it's exactly like you said. He noticed the running back was doing something with his hands. I think, if I'm remembering the movie correctly.
Yep. You're right. You're right.
Hands or something to tell the defense that it's about to be a run play.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, it really does mean something, and the psyche of everything is just insane. How all of that goes down. One more from Artie, because Ben had a second question. He's asking if it was better to study game film or practice film, but I think you answered that you're looking at the game film because of what those tendencies can be. So Artie, does mathematical statistics matter as well then, predictions from the film?
So yes and no, and I get the question. It's actually a very important question, because if it's, second down and 3, or if they have uneven formations, are they running the same plays out of uneven formations that they're running? And from a mathematical perspective, is it, and if I'm not interpreting it right, Artie, let me know. But if every 4th play or every first down or every certain part of the game, they run this play or they run this formation, absolutely important. And it absolutely matters, because it tells me that, like, if I have a team, let's say hypothetically, the beginning of every quarter, let's say mathematically, the beginning of every single quarter, they come out in the same set and they run one of 3 plays off of that set. If I'm watching film, right, I know that at the beginning of each quarter, this is what I'm looking for from that defense, right? Or if I say, it's first down, this team likes to throw on first down more than likely. And they do throw it on first down, and now it's 2nd and 6. Well, 2nd and 6 is kind of one of those mixed bags, because it could be a run or it could be a pass. But if I know that every 2 or 3 plays is a pass play versus a run play, I can sort of prepare for that kind of thing. So absolutely, mathematical equations come into play.
Very nice. Well, we're about to see a play that not necessarily mathematical, but something that looked pretty good when TJ saw me send it to him. So again, first time, you're probably not going to catch as much, but this is one of the sole great plays App State had against Boise. And the thing that caught your eye as a viewer at the time is the hurdle that you'll see from Dominick here at the end. That's not what we're going to focus on this play. It's just another great thing that he does, and he was certainly the best player on the field for App State against Boise in this one.
Yeah, absolutely. The hurdle part is just him being an athlete. The best part about this play is you'll see the backside left guard. He's going to pull, and when he pulls, he kicks out. When he kicks out, that other tight end he kicks out that outside linebacker, and what you have is the receiver going down and making a block on that safety. The safety. The safety, I think, is over him. He's going to make a down block on that safety. It is probably the best play we've ran all year, and quite honestly, it's ran to perfection. Like I said, watch the backside guard. He's going to kick out on the defensive end. We're going to leave the defensive end alone, right? We leave the defensive end alone. The front side guard and tackle double team up to the middle linebacker, right? So now, guess what? I got a lead blocker right here on my linebacker, and I cut it up in the middle, and it's absolute poetry. I mean, that is beautiful. It does not get better on a run play than that. I mean, and then, like I said, this is just icing on the cake. That's just him being an athlete and like doing what he can do. You take a play that, or now the difference between this being a good and a great play is the hurdle, right? The hurdle made it a great play because he took what was given to him and he made more out of it. But it was already a good play from the beginning because of the way the blocking scheme set up. I mean, I can't tell you how many running backs would look at this and think, oh, I'm going to score. I'm getting my ass to the end zone right now because it just doesn't get any prettier than this. I mean, boom, kick out, H-back, kick out again. I'm cutting it up through here. Yeah, he comes off there a little bit, but that's okay because I'm going to get up to the outside anyway. I'm hurdling a safety, and I could be, if that block was made, if he held on to him long enough to get upfield, could have been off to the races. That's just beautiful football. You watch it, and it's I could watch that play 1,000 times and never get tired of it because it is exactly the way you draw it up. Let backside guard pull. Listen, you got front side guard, tackle, double team, tight end, up to the linebacker, up to the middle linebacker. This defensive end is going to get kicked out. This defensive end is going to get kicked out by the pulling guard. The linebacker is going to scrape down. He's going to get kicked out by the H-back who comes across, and then it's just one-on-one with 7. It's beautiful. It really is beautiful.
Yeah, and number 4 who comes across is tight end Cummings, Isaiah Cummings. So that was a great little block by him. He's not a small guy. He may not be the tallest, but he's definitely a thick dude.
Yeah, he's a hammer.
So
that's beautiful.
Springs him pretty good. Like you said, kind of misses that one, but just gets enough of them for him not to be a factor in the play.
Right.
If 55 could have put a little better block on,
a little bit, yeah. If he could have got around him and hooked him, I'd rather him do what he did and let him go, though, and not get a penalty. But I wish he could have just got on his upfield shoulder a little bit more and drove that. Because if you can drive that right arm and that left shoulder and drive him upfield a little bit more, you make it so that running back is coming right off your backside right here. And when you do that, it's one-on-one with a safety or a corner, and that corner wants no shot against a running back.
No, not at all. Not at all. Already said, so it helps eliminates potential errors when you were talking about the film and the predictions from the film that you're going to watch. He says, I'm sorry, but Boise State's field is an absolute eyesore to watch on TV.
I'm with you.
I heard some App fans that thought that was okay in person, but yeah, I've heard the same, that a lot of people don't like to watch that on the television, but
because you can't tell where the players are.
Yeah, it's a little hard when they wear the blue. They wore all blue too. It was definitely
that's what I'm saying. Like at least wear like white pants or something.
Right. Yeah. Well, speaking of pants and wearing colors, looking good section, and obviously we've got one of the guys from James Madison on this one. We'll go through this because this is more of what we do in the wrap show on Sunday evenings. But we do like to kind of remind everybody and refresh before we look into the week coming up. So James Madison wins very easily over Georgia Southern, 35-10. Southern Miss does the same against Jack State, winning 42-25. And ULM gets by A-State for the first time in 15 tries in the Rice Bowl rivalry game, 28-16. TJ, quickly, one of these to stand out above the rest, or are you kind of impressed with all three? What are your thoughts on this?
ULM stands out the most because it's one of those wins that you kind of, it's like, geez, we finally got it. Like you know what I mean? It's one of those wins where you can kind of wipe the sweat off your brow. We finally did it. And now you take that confidence in the next week. So if I had to pick a game that I don't want to say I was most impressed by, but mattered the most, was absolutely ULM.
Yeah, and they were a 10-0 hole very quickly and then came back to win that one at home there. So pretty impressive stuff. Ben James, before we move on, wants to know if Coastal's field is an eyesore.
Not as bad as Boise State. I don't like it. Now, I was there. I was on the field in person. I was on the sideline when we played against them, I think, a couple years back. And it wasn't terrible when you're there. But if you're watching it on TV and they come out in all teal, now, thankfully, sometimes the Chanticleers wear white pants, which that certainly helps. But when they wear that all teal, it's almost the same thing on TV. It's awful.
Yeah. I actually disagree with Artie on this one. He says Coastal is bad on TV as well. Eastern Michigan off gray is tolerable. I think that one's the worst one. To me, it looks like something's wrong with my television when I tune in and I see this like gray field. I think that one's the worst. I'd rather see was Eastern Washington? Don't they have the red field? I'd rather see red than the gray. I think the gray is like the worst I've seen.
Bro, it's grass. Make it green. It's okay. It's okay to be green. Just put it back green, and let's stop doing all this fancy stuff. And just like we said, line up in the I formation and run the ball. Let's just do that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Ben James is bringing up Central Arkansas's purple and gray field. Yeah, and I'm not a fan of that one either. It just honestly, it looks like the color on my TV is wrong, and I just can't get away from that. Like something is wrong visually when I watch this, and I can't stand it. Luckily, we don't have to see a lot of those teams very often. It's supposed to be steel plate from Michigan, I guess. Okay, I did not know that was kind of the allure of it. And it's funny. I've seen Eastern Michigan's logo. I know, what it was, a guy who plays for the Raiders that used to go to college there.
Oh yeah, I can't remember his name.
Guy all tatted up. Yeah.
Crosby.
Yes, big donor. He was this offseason, or at least a season ago, to their program. And I was like, okay, I know about the program. I know about their field. I know their logo looks like. What the hell is their mascot? I couldn't remember it. Do you know off the top of your head what
the mascot
is? It's the Eagles, which makes sense with the E. I'm like, oh, okay, but I knew a lot about Eastern Michigan, and I had no clue what their mascot was until Louisiana was playing them. I'm like, all right, I know about this team, but I don't know their mascot, and it is the Eagles. So if you're struggling like me to know that's what it is. All right, TJ, this was unfortunately this is going to be a solo vector, man.
Yeah,
because really there wasn't a whole lot of ugly games in the Sun Belt this past week as far as on the downside. Maybe some people would include Georgia Southern, possibly. I don't know. I expected James Madison to win, so I'm not really too surprised by that. But this one, come on, bro.
Yeah, it's oh my God, man. We were outclassed, we were outmatched, we were out athleted, we were out played, out hustled, out coached. It was not good in every facet of being not good. We had one decent drive. Apart from that, everything else was bad. I mean, we didn't even look like we were the same size as them. Like they just looked bigger, and they looked more athletic, and they just looked more and bigger never bothered me, right? Like we played against a team that was bigger than us. We beaten team, and we played against Tennessee, held them close. Played against Penn State, held them close. We beat Mississippi State. We've beaten teams that were bigger. I don't care about your size. What I care about is your effort. And it just looked like it wasn't there. And I'm not accusing. I want to make sure in case this goes. I don't want this to be a viral moment where TJ says that his alma mater is not, giving maximum effort and people are quitting. I'm not saying that. I would never say that.
Right.
What I am saying though is that it looked like for a while we didn't belong on the field with them, and that's not what I'm okay with. Right. That's the problem.
I went in saying, look, we talked about it on this show last week. Is it 16.5 point spread? I was like, no way. No, could we lose by 10, by 14? Sure, we could absolutely lose by that. And it can't be mad, right? Because apparently we're 16.5 point underdogs.
Right.
But the way in which we lost, and what's funny is you say that one drive that was good. That was the scoring drive you're talking about, I assume, right?
Yeah.
The scoring drive continued 2 different times because of terrible penalties. Boise State give us first downs when we were about to have to kick at least one punt and maybe a possible field goal, but that's the only way we got into the end zone. So even that one lone drive you're talking about was aided greatly by bad mistakes on Boise State's part. It wasn't great, stuff all the way around for App. So that's what I'm saying. There's got to be something better. You came in there with the 3rd best passing offense in the country, and you dropped like what feels like 100 spots. I mean, you didn't throw for 100 yards. You had almost as many completions, or you had almost as many attempts on the day as Boise State had completions in the game. I mean, that's insane because
it was a visceral reaction for me.
Yeah, it was bad. Like we said, we won't spend too much time on it. We could go off on this and continue going. We will save that. We'll jump into the weekly awards. We do have a couple comments here. Ben James is bringing up the fact that Georgia Southern fired former A-State quarterback Ryan Applin, who was there with, I believe he was the offensive coordinator. No, yes, I think he's the offensive coordinator there for Georgia Southern. So we'll see what happens from here on out with that. Artie Cat saying booze selling out in 100-mile radius of Boone. Well, you know what's funny that he says that. Apparently, all these breweries are everywhere in Boise, like across the street from the stadium. So apparently the tailgating scene isn't quite what it is in a lot of college campuses, but it's really set up very nicely for fans to come in and enjoy what would be your typical tailgate at an establishment instead, and then just walk over to the game. So a little bit different environment than what a lot of App fans are used to, right? They don't have those things like right around the corner so easily. But it sounds like it was a great time had by all before the game and possibly after, but certainly not while they were there in the stands. And Ben is saying he honestly thinks Rayner's afraid to run the ball. Yeah, honestly, I'm wondering before the season if that was a point of emphasis for him as far as scouting for NFL, right? Like show us what you have in the pocket more, or the coaching staff saying we don't want you to take as many hits. We want you to be healthy throughout the season. I don't know. TJ, did you kind of experience that throughout any high school or hear that at the college level?
No, not at all. Not for me personally, because when I came out of high school, it was, you're going to go be a running back. So it was never a point of contention with me. But even with Armani Edwards and Richie Williams, I know Richie, came out and they tried him a little bit at receiver when the scouts came. And I was like, well, let's let him do what he does. And then he went to Canada and turned out to be a really good quarterback. And then Armani, they changed him to the receiver spot, and he's just a little bit more athletic, obviously. But it was never a doubt in his mind or ever a time when he slowed down because of he was wondering what scouts were going to think. No, that was Armani was Armani. Okay. Richie was Richie the entire time.
Nice. I like that. I like that they got to still be themselves and they weren't told to shut it down, because the way they played was obviously aided greatly by their athleticism. So happy to hear that. Artie Cass said, well said, not showing up is not the App State way or tradition. Yeah, definitely is not. I mean, that's why I think you're seeing that's why that's such a reaction from the App State faithful. Just like with Southern Miss winning one game last year, it's the same type of thing. They're not used to these types of things happening, and they won't accept it for long periods of time. And now, look, it's paying off for Southern Miss. And Ben, bringing up Southern Miss right after I say that, said, we see what happened to Southern Miss offensive coordinator 30 minutes prior to kickoff on Saturday. I did not. Throw it in the comments, and we'll let us know what you saw there, Ben. Offensive player of the week, again, touched on at the beginning of the show. It is Mr. Lunch Winfield, who just went absolutely off as he entered the game. In fact, he actually entered the game earlier in the day, as he has done throughout every game so far this season. But he's been used as kind of the gadget guy, couple run plays here and there. Maybe he gets to attempt a pass. He attempted and I think almost completed more passes in this game alone than he had for the entirety of the season coming in. He definitely had more carries in this game than the entirety of the season combined before this game. So obviously his biggest shot, it seems as if he will be the guy going forward. He finished with 129 rushing yards on 13 carries with 3 touchdowns on the ground, one of which was a walk-off touchdown in the double overtime victory there for the Cajuns. He was also 7 of 13 for 125 yards through the air and 2 touchdowns. And what was impressive was not only that he got that much yardage in a short amount of time, but it was the way that he did those throws, like perfectly placed over the shoulder to the back corner of the end zone. Only his receiver was going to have a chance to get it. I mean, he just looked phenomenal. It's a guy who just flips that switch when the time is on. Maybe he wasn't number 2 because he doesn't practice well or something. I don't know. But this guy is an obvious one who should be on the field every time. Right, TJ?
Yeah, I agree 100%. Athletic, strong. It seemed like good ball placement. I mean, he's a dog. And he certainly came to play this week.
No doubt about it. All right. Next up, the defensive player of the week. I liked both of these graphics, and I'm partial because I made the things, but this one popped off on Instagram. I think partly because Ian Foster has so many fans following him. I think he's got like 10,000 people following him. He had 5 tackles, 3 of them solo, with 1 sack, 1 tackle for loss, But most importantly, his second pick six of the season, which went for 49 yards on the interception return. So this guy is having a year, probably, if not the best defensive back in all of the Sun Belt. I don't know, TJ, how much you've gotten to see specifically of him. I know, we watched a little bit of him having a good night against App State earlier a couple weeks ago, but another good one here as Southern Miss won easily against Jack State this past weekend.
Yeah, he's a complete package, man, and he's built to last too. I mean, he's a strong kid. He'll come up and make tackles. I don't like that he doesn't cover his knees up, but that's another thing for another day. But
what about the long strings on the shorts? I've never seen anybody wear them like that before.
Yeah, I haven't either, and I don't know how I feel about it. I mean, I guess do you? But I don't know how I feel about it. But when you build like a brick house, you can kind of do whatever you want to do. So he's an athlete. He can play. I think he might be good enough to be playing on Sundays, man. I think he's gonna be good.
Yeah, if you want to see about what TJ was talking about, focus right here. I'm sorry, I'm not focusing right here. Look at that leg flex. I'll tell you, I only have like fat there. It doesn't really get definition like that. So that's pretty impressive right there.
Yeah, you can tell he works out. That's for sure. He doesn't miss the weight room.
No, definitely not. He's doing what he needs to do to stay on that field and doing a phenomenal job of it. Okay, we also had a special teams player of the week, Curtis Harris Lopez. I mean, he's got the name to fit when you're talking about guys who need to stand out here. He was a kick returner for James Madison, an 88-yard kick return for touchdown. But it wasn't just the fact that he did that. If you watched how he did it, this wasn't one of those ones where he starts out, hole opens up, pretty easy, goes all the way. No, there was juke moves involved. There was tackles that he had to evade to make his way for those 88 yards, hard-earned 88-yard touchdown return there against Georgia Southern, and he was our special teams player of the week. What do you think about these jerseys? We talked about it on the show, the wrap, all black with the gold helmets. You like it?
Yeah, the black is sweet, and the gold helmets are great because it matches the numbers. It's the perfect amount of gold in the uniform to match the helmet. Because the helmet, you want the helmet to pop, right? Like you want it to be different. Right. I don't want to say different, but you want it to stand out to the uniform. But I'll tell you the thing I love the most is the goggles. I mean, he's taking it back to like 95 with those bad boys.
What is it? Rec Specs or isn't it?
Rec Specs. Rec Specs. Yep.
Nice.
Yeah, he's taking it back, man. He's early 2000s, late 90s, early 2000s with those bad boys. Remember Horace Grant? Was it Horace Grant? Yeah, Horace Grant used to wear those things, playing with the Bulls.
Yeah. Oh man, I remember that. Now that it's the cool when they break the nose and you get to wear the mask. But the Rec Specs were the original like nerdy guy, but you knew he was a dog when the guy was wearing those things. All right. Kicker, who also happens to be freshman of the week because that's the one we give out. We don't give out kicker of the week. Yeah, this kid is, wasn't a whole lot of pictures, right? Freshmen typically don't have a lot of pictures taken of them. So it was hard to find a great picture of this dude. So I put the flag in the background because he is from Ireland. He came over after having essentially like a soccer career, did some kind of camp where he learned how to kick a football, and he's pretty damn good at it. He was 3 of 4 for field goals. The only one he missed was 50-plus yards. So there you go. 6 for 6 in extra points. And, this was just the game that ended up 54-51 in double overtime. And he had made that kick. So, Marshall did score on each possession in the overtime. It's just that the Cajuns had a touchdown compared to Quinn's field goal. But phenomenal kicker that is, again, in the Sun Belt from across the pond, and did a phenomenal job for Marshall, kept them right in it. And unfortunately for them, didn't go their way. But hey, when Winfield's on the other side, sometimes that's what's going to happen. Yeah,
that will happen to you, man. But, listen, make the kicks when the kicks are there, and that's all you can do.
Exactly. We do want to get back to what Ben James had told us. He said the Southern Miss offensive coordinator passed out on the field prior to kickoff and told paramedics to do tests in an ambulance. Test came back good. 29 minutes later, he's up in the press box calling plays. And during the half, was in the bathroom. Yeah, and he's having trouble staying hydrated. But long story short, Southern Miss OV had medical scare. Offensive coordinator had a medical scare 30 minutes before kickoff, already saying damn tough dude. TJ just called that out too. Hopes he makes a full recovery. But I'm sure like IVs are, administered at that point, right? Like dehydration.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, if you're getting dehydrated, they're gonna stick you up. They're gonna give you some salt pills and a bunch of things that are gonna help you retain water. So hopefully that's all it was. I'm like Artie Cat. Hope he makes a full recovery. We've had our share of scares this year on the football field. Well, not football field, but still with coaches and things of that nature. So you still wanna make sure he's okay. But sounds like everything's good and on the way up and up. So good news.
Yeah, exactly. Another one, Eric Dickerson.
Yes, ED.
Yep, Warren saying out the same thing. Warren at SMU at his time there.
Yeah, and he was a straight up runner too. Remember how he used to run? He was 6'2", and he ran every bit of 6'2". I mean, he was just tall. Yeah, that was crazy.
It's like everything. Who was it Michael Johnson who ran track like that too?
Yep, Michael Johnson. That was back in was that 95, 96, something like that.
That was ways back.
Yeah.
It's like everything you're not to do now, right? Like lean forward at the hips, and this dude's just trucking away.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I guess like when someone's good at something like that, though, you don't try and change it because
you leave it alone.
Up everything. Ben wanted to know what that alternate logo was for Marshall. That is an old school. They call them like the sailor logo or something, kind of like that old school. A lot of schools have these like old school buff mascots with these like sweater vests or whatever on. That was Marshall's version of that. A walking buffalo wearing a sailor. Yeah, it is. I forget the name of it exactly. Sailor Marco or something. Marco is like the herd, the buffalo's name, I guess. But anyway, that is one of their former logos. I try and do like a retro on one side and the current one on the other. I just think it kind of makes it look symmetrical because I want to put a logo there, and having one on one side just didn't look right to me. So we shouted out with the retro stuff. All right, going back to what we're looking at now, the standings. And we've had a lot more games played within the conference. Nothing crazy here because everyone's really only played one at the most. But this is what it looks like as it currently stacks up in the East. James Madison and Coastal Carolina both 1-0. The, again, tiebreaker that we're leaning on here is just out of conference schedule, or not out of conference, just their entirety of their record right now. So it's not official. These are not tiebreakers that are official. I'm just trying to mostly put, your winning teams at the top and the teams that haven't won yet at the bottom. And then the teams that haven't played are obviously finding themselves in the middle for now. ODU, Georgia State still have yet to play a conference game, as has Texas State and Troy over there on the west side. But on the east, to wrap that up, App State, Marshall, and Georgia Southern, three kind of mainstays for a while at the top of the East, all find themselves in an 0-1 hole to start the season this time around. I'll just wrap up the West, and then TJ, you can share any thoughts you have on the standings real quick. ULM and Southern Miss, as well as the Cajuns, with that kind of shocking double overtime victory, all 1-0 in the Sun Belt right now, with Arkansas State and South Alabama starting off 0-1, but even more importantly, 1-4 overall, the two worst records in the Sun Belt Conference at this point in time. Anything really sticking out, surprising you at this point, TJ?
Yeah, he who was last shall soon be first. Look at ULM at the top of the bracket in the West. Last year they finished essentially at the bottom or right near the bottom. Again, we're just getting started. Obviously, this means nothing right now, but it is cool to see that some of the teams that were bottom feeders, ULM, Southern Miss, are at the top of the conference. It looks like in the East, Georgia State is starting to make some noise. We'll see how far it goes. I know 1-3 doesn't necessarily mean making noise, and they hadn't yet to play a conference game. But nice to see some teams that have not been there be there. Again, 4 weeks from now, this will not be the standings. So take it for what it's worth.
Nope. And like I said, we're just putting them together as an exercise to kind of give everyone kind of that visual. Because you're right, this is not the tell sign, like you said earlier, TJ. Conference is a different beast. Absolutely. Because these teams know each other better. So all this stuff, you got a JMU at 3-1. They might find themselves in some closer games that people think, well, how come they're all of a sudden playing these close games? Because these teams know them more intimately than the rest of the out of conference slate did. So we'll have to see if that plays a large role here. Ben is predicting ULM to eventually have their downfall. They did last year. Start off 5-1 and couldn't win a game the rest of the way. So we'll see if that kind of thing happens. I think they've done enough to avoid something like that. But they've got a good test this weekend that we're going to talk about here in just a minute. He thinks they'll always be a bottom feeder despite Coach Vincent. So he does like Coach Vincent. I like Coach Vincent too. I think he's a good guy. I think he's the right guy for the job. Hopefully they get to keep him there for a while. And then
it's just too many teams in Louisiana for ULM to compete. I mean, you got La Tech, which La Tech, take them or leave them, but they're better than ULM or traditionally have been. You got Lafayette, you got LSU, there's so many teams in Louisiana that it's hard for a team like ULM to be consistently good. They're going to have their years that they jump off the screen, but it's going to be hard for them to be consistently good. It's not like a North Carolina where a lot of the players that are in North Carolina that are really good, they leave, and then the second tier players, they don't usually go to Carolina or NC State or something like that. They go to an App State or an ECU, and that's why ECU has some good years and things of that nature. But it's going to be hard for ULM, and I get it for sure.
Yeah, struggle with financials, right? Like they don't have that seemingly one big donor to really help them along, or enough large donors to get them to where some of the other are. Yeah, Artie's touching on that. Ben's asking what kind of clothes do frogs wear. He's got some kind of joke for us. I hope it's a Sunbelt related joke. I hope the payoff is worth it. But in the meantime, Artie's talking about ULM's money issues, which has always been kind of the case, and we know that's been their struggle. Keep beating a dead horse, but they need that money bad. Yeah. If Elon Musk wants to start donating to a school, I don't know if you want him attached to your school, but that's a guy right there who's got some money to throw around, right?
He's got a little bit of coins.
Yeah, a little bit. Oh man, that's a dad joke. Jumpsuits. What kind of clothes do frogs wear? Jumpsuits. All right, you got us, Ben.
Yeah.
All right, let's jump over to the games of the week. I don't think this one's going to be any surprise. Right there on the graphic, South Alabama, Troy. So we'll go ahead and jump into that. That is the nightcap. So we will save that for just a second. We will talk first about ULM's chances traveling up to the Chicago area to face a Northwestern team. A Northwestern team, mind you, that is not a powerhouse in the Big Ten, sits at just 2-2 overall on the year. We know what ULM looked like against Bama. It wasn't pretty. It was a blowout. It was a shutout. But TJ, what are we thinking here about their chances against Northwestern? Save any betting stuff for the end, because we'll get that the best bets. But just as an outside look, trying to figure out like what's going to happen in this game, what are you leaning on?
Yeah, Northwest. It's hard to say because Northwestern is weird because they're not a traditionally good football team, and we know that. But they've had their years where they've been, fairly phenomenal, quite honestly. They've had, like, I think last year or year before last was a really good year for them. They're not good enough ever for me to say that 100% I'm picking them.
Right.
That said, though, I'm looking right here at their losses. They lost to Tulane 23-3. They beat Western Illinois, which whoop-de-doo. And then they lost to Oregon. Now, the loss to Oregon was 34-14. That could be due to a couple different things. Oregon not knowing who they were. It's the third game of the season. We get that, and also Northwestern is a team that if you're Oregon, you can take rather lightly, right? We just saw what Oregon did to Penn State, took them to a couple overtimes, and it was a really good football game. And then they go and beat UCLA. I don't know what to make of this. I'm to say ULM doesn't have a shot would be ridiculous, because they absolutely could go in there and pull off an upset. And if they did, would it really be that much of an upset? So I'm torn on this one. I don't know if you have anything, Dom, but I don't know. I don't know where I stand in terms of who would I. If my gut had to tell me, I would go with Northwestern, but I'm not confident about it for sure.
Yeah. If you made me pick, the safe bet, unfortunately, is probably Northwestern, right? Not only are they in the bigger conference, have the more money, and likely, more talent, but they're also playing there at home which you usually kind of favor that home team against a team. Especially this is not a close regional game. They're not dropping on a bus to go to this one, right? They're on a plane.
They're traveling from south all the way to north. Yeah.
Right. But here's my thing here, right? Like you just talked about, 2-2 record for Northwestern. Nothing really mind-numbing coming in. Maybe that Oregon game was a little closer than some people expected. But like you said, there could be some things at play there. I know I didn't watch that game. It sounds like, TJ, you didn't really see any of that. But we know ULM's strength lies in their defense. And we know their offense is predicated on running the ball, controlling that clock. That's exactly the type of recipe that we've seen beat power teams before from teams that maybe are undersized and less talented, right?
Fair point. That's a fair point.
The fundamentals really well. Now, again, that's mistake-free, smart football, and having maybe a little luck on your side. But that's the kind of game I'm thinking you could possibly have here. One reason I'm thinking that, offensively, Northwestern has thrown 4 passing touchdowns on the season. They've also thrown 6 interceptions. So there's a thing that could be leaned on for ULM having a chance. But again, that defense has to come through, not jumping off sides all the time, not taking stupid penalties after the play, not letting them gain those easy yards. But I don't think that Northwestern offense is going to scare this defense one bit. So if this defense can do what they've done against everyone but Alabama, all right, we'll have to eliminate that one because that was a little ugly there. But if they can play more like they have in every other game, I think they've got a shot. Now, again, we've talked about it with ULM before. They do not have the quick strike offense. So if they get down quick early and they're just chasing, I don't like their chances. But if they can keep this a close game by halftime and then they can strike, I think this one could be a sneaky good game, though.
Yeah, I think it's one of the games that you want to tune in because it's just for the intriguing factor, right? Like, it's not one of those games where you're like, these are 2 of the best teams in the world and they're playing against each other and it's going to be a absolute dogfight and shootout. It's not that. What it is, it's an interesting game because it makes your eyebrow kind of go, maybe this is something that we could kind of hang our hat. I don't know because like you said, ULM's defense, and not to belabor it or beat a dead horse, but ULM's defense is what they've been hanging their hat on. They played really well. And Northwestern is certainly not a team that strikes fear into anybody, quite honestly. And it's, again, going back to our initial point, the safe bet is obviously Northwestern. Like we're not arguing that. And that's not something that, quite frankly, we're even debating. What we are saying, though, is that if ULM came out of here with a 2 or 3 or 5 or 7 point victory, would we be surprised? And I think the answer is no. Nope, not one bit. And I think it would. I mean, it's not going to ring across the nation as a Power 4 upset, right? I mean, Northwestern's not ranked. They're not a heavyweight in the Big Ten, but it would be still a big deal for the ULM program themselves. They would be pretty excited about that. I'd be pretty excited for them if they were able to accomplish that victory. So just the way at which we talked about this one, it shows me the possibility here is real and definitely a reason to tune in. And that's exactly why we have it listed as one of the best games of the week. And then the one that is of no surprise at all. By the way, ULM, Northwestern never played each other before. So there's an aspect. There's no history here to speak of. So nothing surprising there. The exact opposite in our next matchup, which is a heated rivalry, as South Alabama has won just 4 games against Troy all time. Meanwhile, the Trojans have won 9, and that includes a 6-game streak from 2018 to 2023. However, that streak ended just last year in South Alabama's favor. Now, having said that, we just saw South Alabama drop to 1-4 on the season against this North Texas team, a North Texas team that to me is made up a little bit more like how this Troy team looks. Now, I'm not saying North Texas and Troy are on the same level right now. North Texas is undefeated and Troy is not. However, offensively, kind of similar in some regards to this Troy offense. So I don't know which way you lean in this rivalry game that could pretty much come down to a coin toss this year. So. I was going to say the same thing, man. I don't know because, with Ben James saying I typically don't want Troy to win, but Troy win cause A-State to be coming off the bye week. Yeah, no, listen, very valid point. Part of me is the reason I'm sort of on the fence is twofold. I'm leaning on a lot of what Troy has done in the past, and I know this isn't the past, but I know what this team has been capable of in the past. This is not your same Troy. This is not the same football team of 2 or 3 years ago who had the best defense, and even though they couldn't score more than 20 points, they held you to not scoring. And that sort of had been their MO for quite a bit of time. I don't know that they have that same defense, but then part of me also is like, I just watched South Alabama. I watched them play against a North Texas team who was 4-0, and although they lost, there was a point in that game, we just talked about it earlier, where a lot of things could have shifted. And if I get that kind of effort from South Alabama, Troy's going to be in trouble. Troy is going to absolutely be in trouble. I think that's why we'll go over the line here in a little bit, but I think that's why the line is as close as it is, even with them being in Troy. That's why the line is as close as it is, because I think Vegas knows what you and I both know is that South Alabama, if they get rolling, can be a team that can be scary to be on the other side of the field with. What say you?
Yeah, I mean, I think the South Alabama team is better than their 1-4 record shows, right? Because everyone looks at that and they're like, oh, they've only won one game. It actually hasn't even been an FBS game, right? They beat an FCS opponent. That's their only victory, that first game there against Morgan State. However, look a little bit closer. That second game against Tulane, who's pretty dang good. That third game against an Auburn team at their place, who is ranked at the time. Yeah. I think maybe
Tulane, who beat Northwestern, by the way. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Yep. No, that's perfect. That's perfect. But do you know if Auburn's still ranked right now or not?
I don't think Auburn's not. I can check it out, but I'm pretty sure Auburn is not ranked.
But they were a deserving top 25 team at the time of that game, so I think they still are pretty good. The bad loss is to Coastal, okay? But Coastal could be turning a corner here. We don't know necessarily, but that bad loss to Coastal isn't going to stand up in all likelihood. I don't know if I continue to trust Coastal going forward. They haven't shown enough yet. The North Texas loss, though, that's not a bad loss. That North Texas team is undefeated. They didn't blow the game, right? We just talked about and literally saw what transpired in that one that caused that one to turn. Actually thought Applewhite called really a great game in that one. I mean, put them in position to be where they should have been. But, unfortunately for them, it didn't quite go their way. But, yeah, this it is tough because Troy is coming off a bye where you haven't had something just last week to look at and see what they look like exactly. So it's tough to say exactly, but, man, I want to say there's no way South Alabama continues to lose with the way that they're playing, right? Like that's what I want.
The thing is that they're due for one, man. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off again, but they're so due for a win. It's just hard to say that they've been on third. This would be, if they lost to Troy, this would be their third straight loss, correct?
No, it would just become their second. They won their last one last year.
I just can't. Even still, I can't imagine this being. I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't know which direction I want to go. It's probably the first time I've ever been this way.
This is kind of the fun of this one, right? This is kind of what we want out of these rivalry matchups. I don't necessarily want to be like, oh, we want to see, or we think we're going to see a JMU versus Georgia Southern game, right? Like, I don't want 35-10. I want one that comes down to, like, who has the ball last, who, like, just has the phenomenal play to win this thing. Like, that's what we want to watch. So to have this one, unfortunately, only on ESPN Plus, but it is kind of that later game that should be, you should be able to focus on this one a little bit more, with most of the games really kicking off around 3:30. ULM Northwestern, I don't think we covered this, but they are on the Big Ten Network. It's on Saturday at 3:30. So that's kind of like a big national TV if you get the Big Ten Network, which I believe we get the Big Ten Network, TJ, right, with YouTube TV?
Absolutely.
Well, we'll probably have a play from ULM Northwestern next week for sure then. Warren said, now that they've got a running quarterback, time to mess with the offense. We could be okay as a Troy fan. So he's up. And, again, playing at home after bye week, they're going to want to have something happen in this one. We'll see if it favors them or South Alabama? Artie Cat wants to jump on this one. I like this question. Whose Jag logo is better? Is it South Alabama or the NFL's Jacksonville Jaguars?
Let me go take a look.
I know, right? I do have to bring theirs up because I think I can picture theirs, but I want to see it. South Alabama colors make an overall better uniform. Red, white, and blue is hard to beat. You know what, though?
I think.
Yeah, go ahead, PJ.
I was going to say, I think if you're asking me what logo is better, the logo for the Jacksonville Jaguars is better only because of the detail. That said, though, the colors for South Alabama are much better. But I mean, it's not even close. Colors, I mean, teal, brown, and white. I don't care about that. I care about red, white, and blue, though. You know, so if I'm looking at colors, I'm going with South Alabama. Actual logo in terms of detail and what it looks like, Jacksonville Jaguars.
I'm in agreement pretty much fully with you. This logo is one of the weaker ones in the conference. I think they could do more with it. I don't think it's bad. I just don't think it's great. There's nothing that like makes you put this one at the top of the list for any reason, right? Like sure. I just whatever. It's not bad. I thought the little thing. So before this season, they had the blue color within the mouth for some reason. I guess to kind of make the whole thing more symmetrical and oval shaped or something. They removed that, so now you can see the teeth better to me. But it was a minor improvement. It's not setting it further apart than a lot of other things. But yes, I'm with you. Red, white, and blue is hard to beat. You can do a lot with that red, white, and blue combo that you cannot do with the Jacksonville Jaguars colors. I do like their stuff overall, actually.
Sure.
But I wouldn't favor it over the red, white, and blue combo. So just classic timeless look with the red, white, and blue. And you can do a lot of stuff with that one.
I agree.
Oh, gosh. Ben really wants to get us off track. We're going to save this, Ben, but he wants to know the best unique logo in the sun. We could do a whole show on just that question.
I was going to say, because I mean, if you talk about the 1995 Appalachian State Mountaineer, that's a completely different logo than what it is now. So we can do a whole show on what, if we're bringing in old school versus new school, but we don't want to.
Right. Yes. Retro versus modern. Yeah. There's a whole lot of ways you can go. Maybe we should do a whole show on that sometime. That'd be fun. I think I've completed all of Do It Lady Chet season. I think I'm caught up completely. So if you haven't done that, go check this guy out. He's hilarious. It's a character, it's just a fun thing to watch if you like that office type humor. All right. This is the ones where we're saying you better win, right? I mean, App State has to beat a winless Oregon State. I don't think it's going to be easy, and I think Oregon State is going to pose problems, but this is one. App is playing at home. Oregon State's traveling across the country. You got to win this one, right?
Yeah, I would think so. But again, based on what I've seen, they've given me no reason to certainly stick my chest out. I would think this is a game that we should win or could win and should win. Listen, it's going to take some time. The issue that a lot of Appalachian State fans don't or have is that we don't have patience for nonsense and for losing.
Right.
And I get it, right? Because we come from honestly, we hadn't had before, I think a couple of years ago, we hadn't had a losing season since 2005. And that was my freshman year. You know what I mean? It's 2025. That was 20 years ago. You know what I mean? Yeah. So having a losing season is just not something that, honestly, having less than a 10-win game season is not something that the fans want to tolerate. So I get it, but you got to be patient with this coaching staff. They're new. You got to let them recruit their guys, get their guys in. They're taking over a team that honestly, wasn't super heavily recruited. So, we got to give it some time. We got to cut them some slack. I know DJ Smith personally. He's a dog. He's a hell of a coach. He's going to right the ship. I hope it happens for this football game.
Yeah, I hope it does too. I think we're going to see, a Sean Clark tribute, I would assume and hope before the game. So it will probably be a little bit emotional. I'm not sure exactly how many guys on the roster are still there from his time, but there definitely are some, and there's obviously a ton of people in that community that were well connected to that family and that man as a person. So hopefully, that goes well in that regard, but hopefully it transitions to the game appropriately and they can use it to their advantage instead of letting them get to them too much emotionally. Some of those things are hard to do, right before a game goes live. But we do have an Oregon State fan making some comments, so I want to share this stuff because it looks like good stuff. He's a big Oregon State Beavers fan. This is from Andy Baseball on YouTube. Went to the Houston game on Friday, which they almost won, and in my opinion, should have won, having watched that game. Not quite scouting, I wasn't, but was definitely checking out what some of the opposition will look like. His quick breakdown is, on offense, we will look to run the ball a lot. If the Beavers can't establish a run, it will be a long game. The quarterback play hasn't been great. Hey, that sounds familiar. But the Duke transfer, Murphy, hasn't been given many opportunities to throw. The O-line has gotten better recently. Defense has been the strong suit, which isn't saying much since it's still bad, especially against the pass. We saw some App State defense. Again, these two teams sound very familiar right now.
I was going to say, we're not great against the pass either.
Yeah. His special teams, he's saying, are ranked dead last in FBS, at least 4 blocked field goal attempts this year. So that is the advantage to App State, as Dominick has been very good when given the opportunity to make kicks. So that sounds like that heavily favors App State. But again, you have to move the ball downfield to get in position, which is what they didn't do against Boise. They had done that a couple of times against other opponents, but had trouble sticking it into the end zone. So it'll be interesting to see if that kind of continues. He says, to finish this off, overall, I don't know much about App State, but if they are able to stop the run and throw the ball, they should win easily. There are other issues with Oregon State's NIL, which came to light this week. But yeah, these two teams
sounds like
pretty similar from the sound of it. Right? Yeah, absolutely. I don't know. Andy, let us know if you're actually going to the game. I would assume because of your comments, the way you said it, it doesn't sound like maybe you're going to be there, but I will be in attendance. So it'd be cool if you are traveling to Boone for the game. I'd like to meet up with you.
Oh, you're going? Dang, man. I wanted to go. I got to coach, man. I got to coach. I'm not sad about coaching. I coach football. So look,
there you go. Yeah. Yeah. And Neil's bringing up a good point. It is the biggest team App State has faced, which is surprising a little bit, right? Like we just played Boise, and like you said, TJ, they were looking pretty obviously sized, in their matchup with App State. So it'd be interesting to see there. Artie Cat wants App State to beat Oregon State. Neil said about 50 holdovers from the Sean Clark era. So there's still quite a few guys on the team and on the roster that are still around.
Well, and it goes back to my initial point about being able to recruit our own guys, or having DJ and Coach Daryl Loggins having them recruit their own guys. It's important, man, and that's no shot at the kids that are there, right? Like that's Jesus Christ, 6'4", 235. Good Lord.
That's Murphy there, I guess.
Good God, that's Marcus Russell.
He's the one. Yeah, actually, he's a little off, at least from what I'm seeing on ESPN, which states him as 6'5", 234. So, he'd maybe switch the 4 and the 5 there. But either way, a massive quarterback coming into Boone for Saturday's matchup. He's easy to spy. He's got the long dreads hanging out the back of the helmet, and he is fleet of foot. So, yeah, I mean, he can beat you.
Yeah, it looks like it. It looks like it.
Yeah. Oh, this is great. Ben James saying, is the Bucky Beaver the brothers for Oregon State? I stopped at my first Bucky's on Monday. So I got my first Bucky's experience. Have you been to a Bucky's yet, TJ?
I have not. I've seen them and I've ridden past them headed up north, but have not actually stopped at one. But I heard it's an experience. Yep.
Yeah. It is an experience. I got lucky, and I told somebody too. I said, I'm not going if this is a new location. I won't do it. I'm not stopping on the highway waiting for getting off on an off ramp to get into a gas station. Like, not going to happen. But someone said, this one's been there for years. So it was in Florence, South Carolina. I got in and out easy. I literally didn't even have to wait to check out. There was still a ton of people, but it was like spaced out enough that it wasn't miserable or anything. It was just fine. And yeah, they have tons of snacks and cool stuff. It's definitely an experience, like something you got to do at least once.
I read about how they got started. It was just like a couple I think it was a couple brothers who decided, was like, hey, let me build a gas station for some guys who are truckers. And then they started like slowly, they started slowly like importing food. And then they started importing like, they built showers in there. And then it's like one thing after another. And then they did it at one location and it blew up. And then so they started building them all over the place. And now these two brothers are like, they're almost like, hundreds of millionaires. It's insane.
I will say this. I did the first thing I did when I got in was the bathroom. Crazy. First of all, it's massive and it's super clean. And it's like Disney or like, those nice college campuses that say, like, if you move a brick, like there's a guy right behind you who's going to put it back. That's how this gas station was. Like, they were restocking as everyone's pulling stuff off the shelves. They got people everywhere. It's very clean. So, I mean, I always prefer places like that, like a Chick-fil-A, always clean, inviting. So anyway, enough of that tangent. Andy says.
Sorry, one last thing. What they did was they took the complaints that most gas stations have, and they used all the complaints to help build their gas station. That's the last thing I'm going to say.
Brilliant.
But it's a brilliant strategy.
Yeah, absolutely brilliant. That's why they're succeeding. Andy says he's not going to the game. He would have if the team was doing better, which he's laughing about. I do think App State wins, though. Oregon State may have better athletes, but there are quite a bit of internal problems, which tend to happen on winless teams, right? But, the App State's not without theirs. So we'll see what happens here. I think we're going to see a good game. And maybe people don't want to hear that, but I think we are going to see a very competitive game in Boone. I don't think either team wins easily type of thing. So we'll see what happens. Neil says he believes in DJ, but no receiver group I recall has this many drops. Yeah, it's kind of surprising. I feel like after this first like 2 games, I was like, wow, these receivers have some of the most talent we've had in a couple of years, I feel like. But hands, I don't know what to say about it. It's kind of shocking that they're having so much trouble.
And a lot of those interceptions aren't the fault of the receivers, or aren't the fault of the quarterback. It's coming off of hands, it's carrying them in the wrong way, and it's just, bro, if the ball hits you in the hands, catch the ball. It's not that difficult.
No.
I mean, you just saw a video of my son doing it, and he's 8.
Yeah, there you go. He made it look easy. G. Will saying he hit the Buc-ee's in Harrisonburg today to spread the ODU gospel. I'm sure they love that. I did see that Harrisonburg did get a Buc-ee's. So, and next time I go up there, I'll definitely be hitting that one up, I'm sure. Artie says cleanest restrooms for a convenience store. Absolutely. There's not one that I can name off the top of my head that's ever been any cleaner that I've gone into. Can y'all name each Sunbelt team's mascot? I cannot. I definitely cannot do that. I would know some, but I cannot do all of them. And we're getting far into this one, so we need to get back to the football at hand. All right, 3:30 kick for 2 of those games. That App State and Oregon State game kicks off 3:30 Eastern Time, ESPN Plus. So does this next game. James Madison going up against Georgia State. Get this, just like the team above them in App State, Georgia State has never beaten either App State, but more importantly for this weekend, they've also never beaten JMU. 4-0 the Dukes are against the Panthers all time. Only one of those games, came back in the day when both teams were kind of FCS. I'm sorry.
Yep.
The 3 times that they've played since being in the Sun Belt have all gone JMU's way. Most of them comfortably. The first matchup was just a 2-point difference. So interesting. But what do you think we'll see? Or do you think this is going to be a mirror image of the Georgia game that JMU just played last week?
I think it'll be close to that. I'm looking at it now. I don't see a way that Georgia State wins. Now, I told you earlier what we talked about, and we'll talk about it a little bit more here shortly. The line has changed, actually, from what we have. However, that is a big line.
Well,
and it's huge. So I don't actually no, I don't think it has changed. I think it is still what it was. Anyway, it's a lot. And I don't know that JMU wins by that much, though. That said, they did beat Georgia Southern pretty handily, and I would not bet my money that Georgia State could beat Georgia Southern at this point. So I don't know. I will say Georgia State doesn't have a shot in beating them. That's for sure. It's just a matter of how much is JMU going to win by.
Yeah, that's I think that's why I said it's going to be the same as the Georgia team they just played, because I don't see a lot of difference here. I'm surprised Georgia Southern's offense has struggled. I'm not necessarily surprised Georgia State's offense has struggled, but theirs is struggling even worse than Georgia Southern's offense here.
Yeah.
Ted Hurst is a guy to watch out for, obviously. You've got two quarterbacks that are kind of getting their go with both TJ Finley and Cameron Brown. I'm not sure which way they're going to go. They keep putting both of these guys in the game. I don't know who's going to be the starter, but yet again, I believe we'll see both guys. Excuse me. Ben James is asking, will TJ get playing time at Georgia State? He's getting playing time. He's been on the field just about every week since he's been eligible. In fact, I think he has been on the field every week since he's been eligible. And he's had moments where he's looked brilliant, and then he's had some struggles, specifically kind of taking care of the ball real well. So that's why Cameron Brown has gotten in there. People, if you listen to the fan base, they like what they see out of Cameron Brown. They believe he's kind of the future. But the craziest thing is, and TJ sent me this video earlier this week, not only is TJ Finley on his sixth team in 7 years in college, he still has, because of NCAA rule changes, he still has 2 years left of eligibility. So you sit there thinking Cameron Brown's the future. TJ Finley could be the future too.
Yeah, he's the now and the future. It's insane. It's ridiculous. I've never seen anything like this. Quite honestly, I don't think I've ever seen this in my entire life, ever.
No.
6 teams in 4 years? That's nuts.
And I'm also ready to say I don't ever want to see it again. Like, it's just getting to the ridiculousness of it. That's not a shot at Finley. Hey, you got the opportunity, you got the chance.
It kind of is a shot at Finley, though, bro. I'm speaking for you. I'm not speaking for you. I'm speaking for myself, bro. If you can't hack it where you are, then don't play football, because football is about adversity. And if every time you get into a situation that's not advantageous, you get up and leave, then eventually you're going to find yourself playing Division II football, because these coaches are not going to take chances on a guy who, when it gets thick, he jets. That's not the kind of guy I want in my foxhole.
Yeah, I was actually because of the season he had at Texas State a couple years ago, the fact that they brought in I want to say Barnett, and that's the current quarterback. McLeod. It was Jordan McLeod.
Yeah, Jordan. It's Jordan McLeod. Barnett is at JMU.
Yeah. Well, McLeod was at JMU the year before, and then transfers to Texas State while TJ Finley's there, which obviously gets Finley to leave, because I assume he's like, they want him to be the starter, so I'm out of here. I don't know why they went and did that. I don't know if there was something with Finley in the background we don't know about or whatever. I would have loved to have seen what he could have done sticking with Texas State. Like, I think he could still be there. He could have taken the Bobcats into the Pac-12 right at this point, that could have been interesting.
Yeah.
Stuck around. Yeah, and that would have been like not only your opportunity and chance for the next level, but like you're literally leaving a legacy to school as you jump from one conference to another. Like, that's not a lot of guys get to do stuff like that. So really just would have been an interesting play there. We'll definitely get to some of the specifics when it comes to the betting lines. We got to keep rolling along. We're falling further and further behind. Texas State versus Arkansas State, another nationally televised game for us here. This one on ESPNU at a 4 Eastern, 3 Central time kick. All-time matchup between these two. 7 wins for our Red Wolves. Only 5 for the Bobcats, so they will end their Sun Belt time. Definitely not with a winning record against the Red Wolves, but they will get a chance to make it just a 1-game difference. Do you see the Bobcats able to pull it out against the Red Wolves?
Oh, it's hard to say. I mean, Texas State is, in my eyes, probably the better football team. I don't know that Arkansas State has enough. Obviously Jalen Raynor, and the problem that I have with Arkansas State is what we discussed earlier. Jalen Raynor not running the ball as much as he used to. Like, I need to see you doing what you do, right? And that's, for me, the issue. So if I get the old school Jalen Raynor, who knows what could happen? But if I get this new Jalen Raynor who's drop back pass and not focused on using his athleticism, I got to go with Texas State.
Yeah. So this matchup's interesting, right? Like, it goes back a good ways. They've played every year for, since the 2013 almost. I think that's every year up until then. But here's the interesting aspect. 2023, Arkansas State wins this game. You'll remember this one, 77-31, right? This was one of those ones where like, what happened in this game?
Right.
77 points Texas State allowed. The very next year, Texas State returns the favor and wins 41-9. So like the last two games in this series are like total opposites, ends of the spectrum. What's going to happen in this one? I would favor Texas State because of what they've looked like versus the Red Wolves. But then you have to throw out that game that Arkansas State had against Iowa State, who was looking pretty good before they came into that one. So where's the consistency at? We broke down a play. You broke down a play specifically in TJ and said, look at all these guys doing their job, doing exactly what they need to do.
Right.
And they do it more frequently to win the game. I don't know. We'll have to see. Want to touch on this one because we have something really cool coming out on this. Ben James says A-State is honoring the 1975 undefeated team before the game on Saturday, went 11-0. SunbellSyndicate.com has an amazing article coming out where they have some interviews from the guys on this team. So definitely be looking out for that. I think that's going to hit before this weekend. I'm not sure if it'll be Thursday or Friday, but definitely be checking that out. We'll be pushing that one on socials for sure. Not easy to go undefeated in college football at any time. So pretty cool. We'll definitely give them their shine on that. Artie Cat saying take away and force them to run the ball. And Ben James saying, yes, a former A-State running back returns to Jonesboro in Lincoln Perry. So we'll see what he's able to do there. Maybe a nice homecoming for him. Ben is hoping A-State repays the favor. And Artie Cat is, of course, predicting a Bobcats victory. I will do the same, but I just, tentatively, I don't know if it'll be by a lot. We'll touch on that with TJ here in just a minute. To wrap up this weekend slate, the sixth game, not the final one, right? We talked about the final one already with South Alabama and Troy, but Coastal Carolina will travel to Norfolk to take on what some people are thinking is a surprising ODU team. Others of us knew this team could get to this level. 6 p.m. Eastern kick on ESPN+. Do the Chants win again, or does ODU continue to roll along here, TJ?
I got the Chants, man. I think Sean LeClair's I'm sorry, I got ODU. My bad. I think ODU, I had to look at what my picks were for a second. But ODU is just, to me, the better football team. And quite honestly, better by a couple touchdowns. They play harder on defense. And really, Coastal has just been inconsistent. It's not that I expected so much more this year out of Coastal than I'm actually getting. And the problem that I'm having with that is they have the talent to be really, really good, but they also have weeks where they disappear completely. And so what I do know about ODU is that while they don't always have the best talent or skill, they're very well coached, and you can expect the same thing out of them every single week. They're going to do the same thing. It's just a matter of, can you beat them? And can you stop what they do? Or can you make them change their plan defensively? And to my knowledge, since we've been doing this show, ODU has been ODU. And so I've grown to be a fan of them, and I'm taking them in again in this game by at least 2 touchdowns.
Yeah. We know last week they got by Liberty and kind of really did just get by 21-7. They didn't win that uber comfortably, but there was a very rainy, wet game, slippery conditions, turned the ball over too many times to really put that game away like they should have, because they were pretty dominant in that one, kind of like that App State game. Couldn't put it in the end zone, right?
Right.
Ben James and Artie both taking the Monarchs in this one. I think both of us are taking them. Well, I know TJ just said it. I will confirm that I am also taking ODU in this one. I always thought Coastal was going to struggle this season. I didn't think they'd be a bad team, but they turned out to be kind of sour looking at the beginning, although the defense has been not terrible. The offense has really been the part that needed to get going. I don't see it happening against a solid ODU team defensively with an offense that's on fire for ODU. Again, last week slowed by the weather only. I think that game would have been won a lot more comfortably had you gotten, a pretty dry game out of that one. So I definitely greatly favor the Monarchs in this one. I just don't see Joseph slowing down, and Thomas has been really good as a wide receiver. You got Jones running the ball really well. I think they're the most if not the most well-rounded, at least top 2 or 3 in this whole conference as far as well-rounded football teams right now.
Yeah, I agree.
And just touch on this, as we touched on it in so many other ones. All-time series is tied 2 games apiece. However, here's the surprising thing. If there is one surprising thing, Coastal has won the last 2 games in this series. So they did win 2 years ago on the road in Norfolk. So there is something to take there. And they also won last year. Both games close, though. Both games very close. Both games like 1-score games, it looks like. So a matchup that has been close but has favored the Chants recently. So we'll see if that is a little bit of a surprise as we get into our best bets. We'll kind of go through this a little quicker because of how late we're going tonight, but we definitely want to cover this because this is one of our better and more fun segments, especially across the board. App State actually favored at home by 1.5 points. I'm not touching that. I'm not really confident. The 53.5, I'm also not touching. I don't know enough about this Oregon State offense to say that they're going to score. And I still, after last week, don't trust App State's offense any better than I did going into that Boise State game. So, yikes. I wouldn't do anything on this one. But you agree, TJ?
Yeah, no, 100%. I don't know what – I don't remember the last time I've seen Oregon State play a football game. So I don't know enough about them to pick against or for the spread. So yeah, no, not touching it with a 10-foot pole.
Agreed. We'll skip that one as far as any kind of real solid predictions. All right. So this one is one you didn't really necessarily say too much on earlier. Earlier before the show, that is. I think ULM can keep this game with Northwestern within 11.5. I'm fairly confident on that. I wouldn't take that to the bank 100% it, but I'm fairly confident that they can. Now, will they? Obviously, is a little bit different story. But I put enough on it that I put a little bit of money on them covering 11.5 points. I don't know, anything that you would do on either the total or the spread there?
I'm with you. I think ULM is good enough to be within 10 points of this game for sure. Northwestern is not a team, we talked about it earlier, not a team that frightens you at all in any capacity. And then ULM, their strong suit has been their defense. So that said, Northwestern, their offense has been their weakest point. So you got something here that tells me that ULM could quite possibly cover the spread. So I'm with you. I take ULM.
Okay. All right, one that you were very confident of. You say, look, as we get closer to conference time, I think these teams are going to be closer than people think. You're actually taking Georgia State against the spread of 19.5 points that favors JMU currently.
Yeah, I think that they lose by 2 touchdowns. I don't think it's a situation. Listen, now, do I think Georgia State is better than Georgia Southern? No, I don't think that. But do I think JMU is going to do what they did to Georgia Southern 2 times in a row? I don't think that either. Now, I think they're going to win for sure, but 17 is not 19.5. 14 is not 19.5. You know what I mean? And then we get down to the wire, and a lot of these fourth quarter games, you call the dogs off. That's a chance for Georgia State to come back and maybe kick a field goal to keep this thing closer than we thought. So I'm betting that Georgia State covers the spread, doesn't get the spread covered on them, and that we see this a little bit closer than what we think it is.
Yeah. I was trying to figure out a good way to show that, right, graphically. So we don't want to put it beside the stat because that's not going to tell us. So I tried to put it beside the team that we're kind of taking.
Yeah. This is a good way to do it.
Hopefully trying to translate it as best I can visually, but we're obviously talking about it too, especially for the people that listen to the audio only version of this. Texas State, Arkansas State, you've got the same look here. You don't think Texas State covers that 13.5 against the Red Wolves?
No, I don't. I think, listen, at some point we got to see the real Jalen Raynor. We got to see who he is for real. And I think we will see him this game. I think he won't have a choice, right? Because I think he will start getting to a point where you rely on muscle memory, and muscle memory says to get the hell out of there and go run the football. And so for me, I think, again, we're talking conference play. It's one of those things where, in my opinion, Arkansas State doesn't want their last play, the last time that they played Texas State, to be a win for Texas State. Now, that said, I do think Texas State is going to win the football game. I don't think it'll be by 2 touchdowns. I think it'll be a little bit closer than that.
Yeah, which would be one of the better games in this series recently, right? We talked about 2 blowouts for each team coming in. It wouldn't be a total shock to have a close one finally, right? Like, I don't think that pace of like total complete blowouts on both ends is going to continue. So I do feel like it'll be a closer game for sure this time around. Okay, one that we definitely both easily agree on, and I think in 2 regards. We think Coastal will cover the 20.5 points that favors ODU right now, but we do both agree that ODU will still win this game, right?
Yes. I think ODU wins by 2 touchdowns, maybe 17 points. 20.5, 21 points seems like a lot. 3 touchdowns is a lot of football points. I don't know that that's the case. And even if, let's say hypothetically, they do get up by 21 and it's midway through the third quarter or going into the fourth quarter, chances are ODU doesn't play the rest of their starters the fourth quarter. You know what I mean? So those are the kind of things that you got to account for. And I don't think that – I just don't see this spread getting that far or that significant.
Yeah, and another point to add to that'll favor G. Wills here, or not favor G. Wills here, but Coastal has won the last 2 games in this series. That doesn't mean they're going to win this time around. But there's something here that's maybe a scheme or a matchup problem that these coaches have had against each other a little bit. So that is something, again, as we get to conference play, these teams know each other a little bit better. It's not as hard for them to figure each other out like it is for the out-of-conference matchups where they're trying to look at a team for the very first time. The teams are a little bit more familiar with the players on each roster. All right, rounding it out, I think this is another one just like the very first one. Neither of us are touching, but South Alabama, Troy, the spread favors Troy at home by 2.5, and the total over-under is 47.5 at this moment.
Yeah, I'm not touching this because I don't know. I don't know what I'm going to get. And quite honestly, like I said, if it's one of those things where, they get a momentum shift like they could have gotten against North Texas, South Alabama could very well, win this game. And if they don't, Troy could very well win this game. You know what I mean? It's just it could go either way, and I don't want to touch this.
No. I'm with you. I don't feel confident at all in any scenario from this game. Like you said, either team could win. It wouldn't surprise me. And the total over under of 47.5 is like right at that spot for me where I'm like, I don't know if I could see this being like a total shootout and there's like no defense because of how these teams play against each other. And then I could see something where like both teams struggle mightily for 3.5 quarters and only wake up in the fourth and they hit like 40 and not 47.5 or something. Like I don't feel confident with any pick in that one particularly. Warren thinks that Troy will win, but I wouldn't expect you to think any differently, Warren. And you got to pick your team, man. So
yeah,
definitely a good one there. There was something that I was thinking that we could go back to, but I honestly forget what it was. It wasn't naming all the mascots. I know that. We're not going through that exercise, but I think he was talking about the most unique logo, but we're not doing that today. That was what I had marked in my mind. That's a whole nother time and episode, but this was a good one, man. We went long, but it's because people really had questions to ask and wanted things to know and wanted to share their comments, and that's what we let happen here. You guys help shape the show, and that's what we like about it, because I love the live interaction because it helps us keep going with some stuff. Like the Ben James comment about the Southern Miss offensive coordinator. Did not know that. Did not catch that. I did not see the beginning of that game, so I missed all of that. So that's a cool tidbit. Well, it's not cool, but an interesting tidbit that we now know about this coach particularly and this coaching staff and what they had to go through to also win that big game on Saturday for them. But TJ, any last final words or thoughts to share with the people before we get out of here?
Yeah, wishing well the Southern Miss offensive coordinator, obviously hoping he recovers speedily and it sounds like he's doing okay. It doesn't sound like anything adverse has happened or, has happened since, but, I always want to give thoughts and prayers in those situations. Outside of that, man, I'm ready for some good interconference football. We're starting to get to that point of the season where, we're putting hat on hats, and teams that you think might win may not win. And that's the beauty of Sunbelt football, and that's the beauty of conference play football. So I'm excited, and I'm here for it.
Absolutely. I'm here for it too, but I'm finally getting to go to Boone for the first time this season. They've really only played one other game in Boone because that first game was down in Charlotte, as we both got to take that one in. So not my first app game, but my first game in Boone this year. Tyler's Talking Sports, another podcast out there that kind of cover a bigger assortment of sports, and they're even doing some high school coverage. They're going to be there live. I hope to meet up with them while they're there to take in this game against Oregon State. I think they ticked this one off before the season as like a big game, and unfortunately not quite as big as I think they thought it was going to be leading into it. But definitely one that I'm still going to try and get up there and have a good time with the family at, and enjoy taking that in. But check out sunbeltsyndicate.com. We're going to have previews. We're going to have wrap-ups. We've got some featured articles coming out on a couple players and the undefeated A-State team, as Ben was talking about earlier. So be sure to check that out, and we will see you all on Sunday's wrap-up show. Thanks for tuning in.
Sunbelt Syndicate.